right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the BoomBastiCAST. And we have a episode with you that's rather mad this evening, if you will. Maybe I don't lose my voiceover by talking too much. We have the great, the wonderful Debra Wilson with us. The great Alexander the Hawk brought her into the show. I know they're close friends, so you brought her over in. It's a very nice deal. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things in this episode. Some of the great work that we love her for, but we're going to go deeper. This is another one of those BoomBasticAST episodes where we journey deeper in, and we love journeying deeper in because you get a little something extra that you don't really get on other shows. I feel you could probably punch up, on the old YouTubes, 500 maybe interviews, maybe a little less, I don't know, but you might catch yourself numerous times hearing about Mad TV. Fantastic. Numerous times talking about the video game stuff, the animated movies. But you're going to tap into something really special today, I think, where we're going to go for a full journey. You're going to hear about all those beautiful things we just mentioned. You're also going to hear about some paranormal stuff, some spiritual stuff, very deep, very wise. Debra's very enlightened. She's very great. She's just great. I take her for being a really great person and somebody that, I really appreciate where her head's at, for sure. Her head and her heart, like I said, it's a beautiful thing. It seems like a ball of positivity. You know what I mean? What do you think, Alex?
Hey, I totally agree. I mean, I reached out to her and we were talking, and she one of the things she pointed out was she wanted to talk about not just her career. She wanted to talk about different subjects, her
Yeah.
feelings on different things, which I mean I got really excited about because, as we've said on the show many times, it's all about the journey. We want to talk to these people, have a conversation, see where it goes. I mean, however people feel, how they see the world, that's what we want to give our viewers, is an insight into these people that you've seen on TV or listened to the music, or read a comic book that they created, or therefore anything else that they have done creatively that has touched you. And I'm totally up to seeing where this goes. And I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we've jotted down in the notes. We're going to see if we can hit them, but we might go in a whole different direction that we don't even know where we're going to go, and that's part of the fun. The jumping down the rabbit hole and see where this goes. And I'm totally psyched because I mean I've loved everything I've seen Deborah in, and our conversation shows me she's a wonderful person, very kind-hearted, and I want to know more about her. I mean that's what we do. What we do is we want to know more about these people. What makes them tick? What their hopes, their dreams, what they like to do, what interests them, and
We
that's
like
more interesting than anything else.
we like to showcase the great talent for the great people that they are.
Yeah,
We're here to learn about, the craft, their careers, but we're also here, more importantly, to hear about the people, get to know the people that we've appreciated and loved throughout the years. That it's fun to sit down and hear some stories and conversate back and forth with them, because we have so much respect for them, and just fans of what they've done and appreciate the entertainment that they've put in our lives. And that's really kind of, I think, the vibe of the show. And yeah, you know what I mean? When you say something respectable like that, all you can really do is go woof, 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 back like a dog. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BoomBastiCAST for the first time ever, of multiple times, the great, the wonderful, the inspirational Debra Wilson. Welcome to the BoomBastiCAST, Junkyard Dog style. Debra Wilson, welcome to the
Thank
BoomBastic.
you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
yeah.
I'm grateful to be here.
Grateful, it's a beautiful thing. I love that. Gratitude's always a wonderful thing. You know, more people should have it. I like when I see people being positive right off the get-go bat like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, constant attitude of gratitude. Too blessed to be stressed, too grateful to be hateful, and too anointed to be disappointed. Come with it.
I like that.
Awesome. Well, one of the things that we want to talk about is, I mean, you started
Uptown Comedy Club.
Yeah, Uptown Comedy Club. You did 11 episodes with that.
I basically, what was it? I'd been doing before that sketch and improv with a group live. And then a number of sketch and improv groups. And then that was an audition for Uptown Comedy Club and a pilot that I did for the Apollo Theater called the Apollo Comedy Hour. And I did the pilot for that. And then it just, again, continued to happen that way. Yeah, so, I mean, Mad TV, by the time I got to LA, Mad TV was actually my third series because I had 2 in New York already.
So I have a question. What prompted you to move from New York to LA? I mean,
there was no prompt. It was Mad TV. I booked Mad TV and I had to move out here.
Oh, okay.
That's all it was. I auditioned for Mad TV in New York because I was living in New York. So the executive producers were going from city to city to see people on stage, to see people, you know, whose reels they saw. So they were like, okay, we're going to New York, we're going to Chicago, we're going to Boston. You know, they went to all the major cities.
Yeah.
And so they came to New York, and it was both I and Artie Lang that they found in New York.
Oh yeah.
Nice. So so you and Artie started at the same time.
Yeah, our audition was at the same time in New York.
You guys ran together. Yeah.
There were 4 processes. The first process, I went in individually, and then then a week later they said, or a couple of days later, they said, you know what, we want to have you come back. So I was like, okay, I made it to step 2. Second step, I got a chance to meet Artie Lang.
Oh, yeah.
And then I met Artie Lang, and I think we talked and we met then and bonded then. And the third step was doing like a sketch thing. And I think they put me and Artie together to do a sketch in New York. And the last one, the final callback was for the Fox executives and the producers, Quincy Jones and David Saltzman.
And back in New York, you were doing like in some indie films and stuff like that, right before you made the jump.
Yeah, but not just indie films. I did a major feature film that I was. The role was written for a young white man, and the casting director was only looking for that particular in the spec. But my manager at the time, Joan Rosenberg, who has passed away, God bless her, said, yeah, but you need to see my client. You really do. She's Black and she's young, but you really need to see her because she's really funny. And this role, you're asking for people who do comedy, and she does. And they're like, okay. So the casting director said, okay, called me in. I improv'd and played and made her laugh. They sent that to the director. The director was like, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, yeah, we're changing the specs on that. And so I did that film that was called It Only Happens With You, AKA Let It Be Me. It was under 2 titles. And then I've done indie film in New York with Matt Mittler called Cracking Up.
Yeah.
And a couple of other indie things. And then I was the spokesperson for Burger King. And then I was the spokesperson for Amana refrigerators and appliances. And then I did a series with Joan Rivers as her sidekick and announcer and audience warm-up. All of that happened before Mad TV, and then of course Uptown Comedy Club.
Yeah. Yeah, you did a film called Blue in the Face, I believe, way back when.
Right, Blue in the Face was in New York, an indie feature by Wayne Wang.
Yeah, that had Jim Jarmusch plays a part in it, but has a very Jim Jarmusch like vibe to it.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, you know, when you got the the call on Mad TV, did you have kind of reservations about it because you know you were signing into a big contract type deal? And
No,
you
that
thought it
wasn't
would
a
be
big,
more-
that wasn't a big deal because I'd already I had already done 2 television series.
Yeah,
For me, more than anything else, it was, do I really want to leave everything behind? And there was just a lot of emotional, unresolved stuff with me
yeah,
going on in my life at the time. A lot of unresolved issues and things going on, and whether or not I really deserved to be there. But I was hired. And so they said, you were the first one we want. I was very grateful for that. And it was like, all right, well, this is happening because I did the pilot. And after the pilot, I was like, I'm ready to go back to my life in New York because everything I did was in New York. The work was in New York, and I kind of steamrolled in New York, and still kept a city job. And so when it happened, the first word out of my mind was fuck, because that meant a life change.
yeah,
And that means I had to start discovering the make and measure of who I truly was, and if I belonged in LA, and if I meant to stay in LA, if I meant to be in this business. I mean, it was this huge life quest to grow myself and better know myself, and not about really the show. So for me, it wasn't about, oh, wow, I got the show. It was, this is a life change for me. I have unresolved issues in New York. Do I move through this? Can I get through this? Am I meant to be here to handle the life experience? So I never really thought about Mad TV the same way as a lot of other people thought about it, as in, wow, I got a big TV show now on major network. That
yeah,
wasn't my thought process. My thought process was, fuck,
yeah.
this is going to be a life-changing experience in Los Angeles. So my thoughts were more with Los Angeles than the show. Was I grateful to get it? Absolutely. But I knew it would be an uphill battle on an emotional and psychological level for me to find my space there. And I did, but it took me 4 seasons to do it.
Yeah. It's very common to have those doubts, you know, like Alex said, we do indie film and we stayed in Massachusetts. We have friends that have gone out to California and stuff in New York and done the deal. But yeah, taking that leap's like it's a big one. It's a big one for sure.
Yeah. And I didn't have any doubts about the show, really.
Yeah.
And again, it was about my doubts within me.
Yeah.
You know, can I handle this space that I'm in now? Because I have no lifeline. I have no connection and lifeline. I'm the only one here in Los Angeles, that kind of a thing. And it was powerful and cathartic and painful and traumatic. And it turned into this beautiful space of power.
Yeah. Well, that
It turned
lifeline,
into a beautiful space of power by the 4th season. And I went, I'm home. I'm home. This is where I belong. And I'm not talking about the industry. I'm talking about California itself. This is where I belong.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. That lifeline thing's so important because like you go out there, it's the big show, so to speak. There's so much pressure and you know, you hear a lot about in the business where there's so many ups and downs, and it's kind of like they say, you know, I heard Corey Feldman once say something about like how, with Corey Haim about how like the business kind of ate him up because he didn't really have the Feldman came from a family that was in film. So like they would be like, okay, you're gonna have these ups and downs, but don't worry, you know, you're down, really down right now, but you will get up again. You know what I mean? And like it's very important to have that, and not having that in that city, I could only imagine that, you know what I mean?
But if you look at the larger picture, that's the way it is in us and individuals. Our
Right.
turmoil, our space, our angst, as opposed to, hey, it's about the industry. Because if you let go the industry and you look at anybody and anybody else's life, everyone has experiences that they have to go through because life is designed to grow you and better know you. To look at the larger aspects of why you're here on the planet and how it's here to serve the universe, as opposed to just yourself, because the ego can play tricks on you. It can be your best friend or it can fuck you to death.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of your perspective in life, regardless of all the 3-dimensional aspects. It's regardless of that. So it's not just the industry. It's having a lifeline to yourself, having a lifeline to your belief system, because you can have a lifeline to other people, but if their belief system is all over the place or they don't have one, it doesn't matter if either one of you don't have a foundation. You feel me?
Yeah.
So the foundation is your relationship with the world, your relationship with a belief system greater than yourself. And then you can tether your experience as a mirror image reflection to people who have a sense of grounding as well. And and unfortunately, I believe the possibility that for Corey Haim, there was no sense of grounding. That it was all about what's happening in the industry and then trying to release yourself from it. And in the process of releasing yourself, going back to the three-dimensional world with the drugs.
Yeah.
Sedation. And
Yeah.
that's because the spiritual foundation wasn't fully there, or he didn't really glom onto it. So his soul was in turmoil. And every soul comes to this planet and will have a space of turmoil, but that is the proving ground and the make and measure of who you are. So turmoil is par for the course in the human condition and in the human world, because the growth that comes from it is away from the three-dimensional world, so that whatever you succeed in life, you are in the world, but not of the world.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
How about, have you always been spiritual? Did it come in?
No one's always been spiritual.
Yeah,
No one ever comes into this world and goes, guess what? I'm spiritual. I am so spiritual. Look at me. I am spiritual. No one. Everything, again, it's par for the course of your growth. Like a seed, you can have a seed in the ground. Everything is a friction. Everything is a pushing. Everything is a moving forward in reality. Whether a human being or whether you're a seed, there is nothing in sentient life that is not an assimilation of that. So you have a seed. You put it in the ground. Now, that seed has to crack open. There's a friction there, a breaking open, a revolution of, I'm being torn apart. Then that plant has to push through the soil. It's got to push through the soil and make its way through. Now, it's got to push through the soil and then find sunlight and find the water. But it still succeeds, and that's who we are. We push through and get through and go through, and we emerge. If we choose, we emerge. Because when life hands you shit, God is always reminding you that you are minerals. And when you put shit with minerals, you get fertilizer, and therefore you can grow anything.
That's right.
True, true.
Love it.
I mean, especially when you're dealing with life. I mean, life throws you a lot of different obstacles and all that, and the only way to truly deal with the things that are thrown at you is to have a grounding kind of a grounding of sense. So I mean, that's a good way of, you know, kind of grounding yourself and looking at the world and dealing with it, because I mean, you get shit thrown at you no matter what, and you just have to learn how to use it to help make you grow.
God is the great recycler. Nothing is ever wasted. Nothing. There is no lesson that is ever wasted unless you choose to ignore. And then live in what I call the 5 dimensions. Eat, sleep, shit, fuck, consume, and destroy.
Alex. That's Alex's life.
Oh, not quite, not quite.
I
But
agree.
yeah, I mean, I mean, the fact is, I mean, just using the entertainment industry as an example, with all the things that go on and the constant battling of trying to be,
I wouldn't say that it's constant. I wouldn't say that it's constant. I think that's an idea and a concept that you have. But if you're asking me individually, it's not a constant battle.
Okay.
I've never really had a constant battle. You know, there are hurdles and things that you look at that seem to be challenges and things that you just ignore. But I wouldn't say that it's constant, because you're making it seem like it's a constant bombardment. But I'm like, not necessarily. You know, no more than other people in their jobs or other people in their careers or other people in their business or other people in their lives, depending upon what's going on in their life. So I think it's a case-by-case basis on an individual level. And it also depends on the perspective of different people. Some people go like, that's a shit ton of hurdles. The person who's gone through it was like, nah, it's just another day for me.
Yeah.
True, true.
It's, you know, like a happiness thing. And when I talk to people that are feeling down, I always go, you know, like, I almost don't feel like people like happiness. It's almost, you know, you're not supposed to be happy 24/7, 7 days a week. It's like a yin and a yang, give and a take of life type deal. Be thinking that everything's going to be, you know, beautiful flowers every day. It's good to have that perspective of like the opportunity of that, but like expecting it is dangerous. What do you think?
I don't think it's dangerous. I just think it's par for the course of your learning. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier, you know, feed, oh my God, I'm cracking open, I'm breaking open. And then the plant, oh my God, I've got to push through the soil. I've got to push to get the sunlight. I've got to make sure I have enough rain. I hope I don't get eaten by an animal. I mean, even though it's obviously sentient life and it doesn't think that way and doesn't have a brain, it's just a commonality. I mean, in nature is giving us all of these lessons and showing us all the time. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is actually no such thing as opposites, they don't exist. It's a concept. But let's go with the concept of opposites. I can walk down the sidewalk and I can see where humankind has created concrete slabs called sidewalks and curbs and streets. And I can see where nature has taken over and broken it. Nature has taken over and washed things away, cracked it open because of the sun and the heat. And before you know it, without there being a seed being dropped, without fertilizer being put in, without soil being put in, a plant pops up. Yeah. So that means in the places where human beings have gone, now what we made is here. What we made is permanent. Nature comes in and goes, no, there's a beauty within this space, and it will not be without being seen. But that's each and every one of us. So no matter what we do to ourselves or each other, there is a space of beauty within us that will be reckoned with, that will come to the surface. And sometimes it has to have the nature of us broken. In other words, nature of us broken, old habits, hate, racism, fear, destruction, the unwillingness to forgive. Yeah. So when those things are broken, the beauty of what we really are emerges. So for everyone who's got a hard heart or a heavy heart or a rock solid heart, it will be broken. Nature will break you. The nature of love, the nature of kindness, the nature of forgiveness will break you open. Not to scold you, but to emerge you so that you can be loved the way you deserve to be loved.
Yeah. I mean that's really deep. I mean, I never thought of things like that. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that dealing with things, everyone has, turmoil in their life, some big, some small, but one has to learn how to cope with it and make themselves a better person because of it.
Transmute it. Transmute it. Yeah. Because you know what? Every single one of us, whether you're religious or not, and I'm not religious, every single one of us is due for a crucifixion. And the only purpose of a crucifixion is a resurrection. There'd be no purpose of a crucifixion without it. So you have to know and trust and believe and have faith that everything is designed for a crucifixion, because what you grow in that resurrection will change you forever, will grow you forever, will make you powerful more than ever, because now your eyes are open on a different level than the three-dimensional world, or what I call, again, the six-dimensional world. Eat, sleep, shit, fuck, consume, and destroy. So you'll recognize it and be in the world, but not of the world of doing it when it comes to your mental health, your emotional health, your joy, your well-being, your peace, your prosperity, your abundance, your charity, your compassion, your connection. So it's all par for the course. Each and every one of us have a reality to turn into a greater reality that goes beyond the three dimensions, where money means nothing to you in terms of your health or doing something for someone. You volunteer and you'll say, all of this time that I spent, it was amazing and brought me to tears to help people who really needed it, and see their joy and feel their experience and hear their stories. I am forever changed in that regard. And so people always have these cathartic moments. Imagine a parent who says, I've got all the money in the world, but I can't cure my child from this 4-stage cancer. So my money means nothing to me. You have these cathartic moments. If there weren't cathartic moments, there wouldn't be AIDS organizations, LGBT community organizations, Black Lives Matter movements. There wouldn't be Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. There wouldn't be, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. There wouldn't be the Shriners organization. You feel me? There wouldn't be St. Jude's. So all of these turmoils were turned into something cathartic and powerful, so that each time you get a chance to witness and bear witness to the healing of others, to the fundraising for others, there is a healing that takes place in you. And that you can't put money on. You can't put a price on that. And so there are things in life that you can't put a price on. Otherwise, there'd be no phrase called "can't put a price on that."
Yeah.
True, true. Yeah, and I think especially when you talk about these organizations, that when you're dealing with any kind of hardship, I mean, whether it's cancer, AIDS, whatever, when you have a group of people that are like-minded and they go together and form a group, a committee to fight against it, I think that is the most uplifting thing there is, because I think the only way to deal with some of the hardships of, reality is going against it with other people. And together we are stronger than apart.
Absolutely. And that's why these organizations also, I mean, if you think about it, there are hotlines.
Yeah.
There are plenty of hotlines. If you're thinking about harming yourself, there is a suicide prevention hotline. There are hotlines all over the place for your mental health. And so people are recognizing their pain, and there are organizations that will go, we recognize that, and we want to do something about it. We want to let you know that you're not alone, that you're not alone. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing, especially, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that they feel like they're alone because either their family, their unit is supposed to be with them, but they, have abandoned them, or they find they can't go to their family for some reason. But it's good to know that there's other people that are going through the same thing that they are, and because of that, that they are able to work together and then confront this issue head on.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
kindness. It's like you get broken down so much, just somebody telling you they care, whether they're a stranger or not, you know what I mean, is an uplifting thing for somebody in a dark place like that. You don't take much to care. You don't need money to care. You don't need money
That's
to
true.
care. Money's horrifying, really,
And
the burden of
sometimes
money.
all you need is a kind word from a stranger or from anybody who's saying, hey, I'm going through the exact same thing you are. It might look like there's no hope in the future, but I'm here to tell you there is hope. We are here to, work with you to get through it and to combat whatever this issue is.
Keep smiling. That's the thing, you know what I mean? It's not hard to do it. Your smile, a smile is very contagious, in the world that we live in, a lot of things are put on looks, how people look and stuff like that. And I always say the most attractive thing is smiling, because if people everybody wants to be happy. And if they see you smiling, that's what they want, and they want to be happy too, it's the same vibe. So smile more, Alex.
I try. It's hard. It's hard sometimes, but I try to smile more every day. Sometimes it's tough, but I try.
What's your take on when we pass away? It's live a pure good life, but
There's no such thing as a pure good life. That doesn't exist.
No,
because there's no such thing as pure. And there's no such thing as good. It's a concept and an idea. And I get why humans created it. I get the way of the world. I get, a society and a culture of people that are in an evolutionary process to create words that make them feel good and find a camaraderie and have an overstanding of an experience time and time again, and have an equation that says this means good, this means bad, this means pure. I get that. But it's just a life. It's life, and you're here to have that experience and make choices in it. So I don't believe that a life is pure. I don't believe that a life is good. I don't believe that a life is bad. I think that it's simply life, and you make choices in it. Now, are there negative aspects to it? Are there positive aspects to it? Are there light aspects to it? Are there dark aspects to it? Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's a journey for sure.
It is absolutely a journey, and I don't believe this is it.
So yeah, it's interesting. Death is always that, or transcending, rather, better word for it, I guess, is always interesting, deal with the spiritual thing, because it's like, you can almost have like almost go to that other place before you even die, like if you're tuned in appropriately, you know what I mean? Maybe.
Tell me what you mean.
So like if you're at peace with everything, like we're talking about the money and stuff, it's kind of
Mhm.
like the burdens of money. It's like one of the things I feel like when people pass away, it's like all that responsibility. It's like you think about today, you're like, well, what do I got? I gotta go get groceries today. You know, I gotta make sure this bill's paid. I gotta make sure that bill's paid. And it's like such a, you know, like when humans first came about, it wasn't like a pay bill situation. That's kind of more of a modern thing, if you will. And but like I think that the burdens of that, like the responsibilities, such like that, kind of go away. And if you can kind of get out of it before a transcending thing where you can understand, you know, that like you said, money's just a thing that might help the day go along, but there's really no importance to it other than the paper that it's printed on. You know what I mean? When it comes to
Yeah, absolutely.
real issues, you know, like you're talking about with the cancer thing, it's like you could have every dollar bill in the world could be in your bank account, but a situation with the sick kid, it's like you can't buy life, you can't buy time. You know what I mean? It's just, but if you realize that ahead of time, I think you can get to a better place with it all.
Absolutely, because again, the foundation would be a spirituality, a higher consciousness, raising your conscious vibration.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and when you raise your conscious vibration, you raise your perspective between between the physical world and the spiritual world.
Yeah. It's yeah, I know that you're into the paranormal, which we are too. You know,
I'm going to Paracon. I'll be in San Antonio, Texas at Paracon on the 26th and the 27th of January, Friday and Saturday, 26th and 27th of January, Paracon in San Antonio, Texas. Woo! But I also have friends that are paranormal investigators that had a series. And so I was fans of theirs. And then someone introduced me and I became friends of theirs. And now we're like family. And
yeah,
so I'm going to support them and I'm going to be with them and I'm hang out with them. And on my 60th birthday, I told them I was going to, and they are Brad and Barry Kling of Ghost Lab fame. Ghost Lab used to be on Discovery Network.
yeah.
And it was an amazing show. And so they still do podcasts and they are still active in the paranormal world because they get hired individually as well. And so on my 60th, I said, the one thing I want to do for my 60th birthday is I'm going to go Gettysburg. I'm going to explore Gettysburg because I know it's a very haunted location. And they have done a number of explorations and investigations at Gettysburg, as well as around the entire country. But they have a very huge love of Gettysburg and a fascination because they've had family members that they have traced back who were a part of the Civil War on the side of the South, on the side of the Confederacy, because they're from Texas. And they said, you're not going without us. We'll meet you there and we're going to take you here and we're going to do this. And they knew so many people in the town and they knew so many people because of all the investigations that they were letting us in at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, just opening them up for Barry and Brad Kling. And I was like, wow, they have pull in Gettysburg itself because it's a very small town.
Yeah.
You know, so when people think of Gettysburg, they think it must be the largest skirmish that happened. And it was one of many. And it wasn't the end of the Civil War when it happened. So, and all of those battles took place on farmers' fields. You know, but they took me and it was wonderful. And I did an investigation with them in Texas years and years prior to that. And now I'm back with Paracon. And when I did a voiceover convention and I was a keynote speaker in in Dallas, they drove from San Antonio all the way to Dallas. And it was amazing to be able to see them. So yeah, I've gone from major fan to a friend and friend to family member. So it's just really amazing. So big shout out to Brad and Barry Kling of Ghost Lab fame.
Hell yeah, much love. You know,
yeah, man.
The paranormal is definitely one of those things that I love it, and it's so fun that certain people would just be so against it, and certain people be so for it. Did you ever stumble into like an apparition or a ghost or anything like that in your?
Yeah, but not in Gettysburg. They did. At one
Okay.
point, they were listening back to some of the stuff that we recorded.
Yeah.
Um, and then they were like, you know, we're gonna go, and it was a little store that was like it was almost like a 7-Eleven to a certain extent, stayed open all the time. And they were like, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody was getting tired, and they said, "Listen, we're gonna go to this little store. You want to come?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna rest because I knew we were leaving the next day." Damn it! I should have gone, because as they were coming back from the store, they stopped at a light. There was one young man on one corner and another person on the other corner. The young man had a phone, headphones, earbuds, whatever. He was on his phone. And Gettysburg is such a small town that obviously nobody was out there, you know, because all the tourists were gone. Everybody who lives there is in bed asleep. So nobody was out there. And so the other guy on the side of the street was waiting for the light to turn so that he can cross. And he had on this big hat, big beard, and a long duster, like you would wear if you were a cowboy.
Yeah.
And when the light changed and they started walking, the kid with the phone or the young man with the phone didn't look up. And Barry and Brad were watching the scene take place and go like, dude, look up. Don't you see this guy coming at you? And the kid never looked up, or the young man never looked up, and they just crossed like this. But the kid never looked up at all.
Yeah.
That's unusual. Human nature says, oh, I feel somebody coming at me. Let me look up. Oh, let me make sure I'm not in anybody's way. You have a peripheral vision. Even though it's late night, you're aware, oh shit, there's only one other person there. Kid never looked up. So as Brad and Barry were watching the guy cross the street, like, oh shit, this guy was moving fast too. I'm surprised he didn't knock him over. They watched him. By the time he hit the sidewalk, he vanished. He disappeared. He dissipated.
Jeez.
And they came back and told me, I was like, damn it.
Yeah. I think with paranormal, I think it's like if you're looking for it, if you're like going to a hot spot and you're looking for it, they don't want to show themselves. It's when like you least expect it type deal.
Yeah. Yep. That's in my experience. That's been in my experience. Or I've had plenty of empathic experiences, but never full blown. And part of me wants to go like, do you think you could handle a full blown apparition, Deborah? And I'm like, fuck yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the other part of me is like, Deborah, can you handle a full blown apparition? Fuck no. You know, but I think I can, because I don't scare easily. Yeah. And my biggest fear, more than apparitions, my biggest fear is running.
Yeah.
I have an abject terror of running away. That's my biggest fear, is running away in situations like that. And so I never run, because running would take me to a place of hysterics, like it's chasing me, it's going to get me, it's going to kill me, and all of that, and then hyperventilating, and then tripping over something and killing myself. Tripping over myself in my head. I'm the only one whose head hits a giant rock. You know, it's all of that kind of stuff. So my mind plays tricks on me in the idea of running away from something. And so I don't run. I am not a runner. If you're going to come at me, bro. You better come at me, because I'd rather face you head on than to run, not knowing what else you can do. I don't need to know. I don't need to think about a pitchfork in my back.
I'm glad. I agree with you. That used to be one of my, I'd hate to be chased as a kid, because like, I just don't like it. Yeah, the thing is something chasing after you. I remember we went into an old haunted mental hospital up in Massachusetts, and this will creep you out a little bit. Like, we went through this place and we had a video camera and everything, and there's all types of crazy stuff. We have like a noose swinging in like an area where nobody was at. There's a bunch of noises. And the last thing that it was I remember we turned the camera off and I was handing it to my friend. And we didn't see anything paranormal the whole time in there, but when we watched the video, it's like everywhere. But we heard this. We were both looking at my hand, and we hear sound, and I looked up at him, and then I looked over from where it was coming, and there was chunks of plaster coming down from the ceiling, like something was stomping above. And when I looked back at him, I seen his feet going out the window of where we were, where we snuck into the place. And then right after, like it connected in my head that he just left me here. I heard these three voices over each other, like, and I was just like, oh shit. And I had to run down a hallway and try and get a chair. The leg was busted, so I had to run down the hallway where the plaster was falling. And that whole time coming back down that hall and jumping out the window, I was like, I'm dead. Like, I just felt like I was already dead. It was like, it's already over.
No.
I'm just waiting for the final, the final conflict.
And
But-
see, yo, better you than me. But my thing is also, I will move slowly
Yeah.
and stop and wait because I want to catch my heart rate to go down. So at that point, my focus changes to my heart rate. And then I'll walk a little and then I'll stop. Because walking and stopping makes me go, am I okay in this moment? Yes. Take another couple of steps. Stop. Are you okay in this moment? Yeah. So then that calms me down because I'm like, okay, when I take small steps, I'm fine. And now let me focus on my heart. How do I slow it down? Breathe deeply and breathe in. Are you safe? Yeah. Are you safe? Because I'm not playing I'm not mind fucking myself. That's the last place I want to mind fuck myself.
Yeah.
And me, more than anything else, is I won't go with anybody who goes, oh yeah, I love this. Oh, I do this. Oh, I'm gonna be fine. Oh, I'm gonna be fine. Those are the people that chicken out. Those are the people that will leave you, abandon you. Those are the people that, I got scared. I'm like, well, then you shouldn't have been here in the first place.
Right.
It's okay to be afraid, but what you did is you let terror take over and you abandon your partner.
Yeah.
I could have fallen. I could have hurt myself. I could be bleeding out right now, and you wouldn't fucking know it because you were too scared to turn around and make sure that I was with you and not have my back like I would have your back. So when I say I got your back, I got your back. That's who I am.
Oh yeah.
That's how I do. If I say I got you back, I got your back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Leave no man behind. And so, especially in that situation, and if that person gets in there and goes, I can't do this. I can't do this. I feel this. I go like, okay, we're going to leave. Look at me. Don't look anywhere else. Look at me. All right, let's walk out. I'm going to stand in front of you so that you're right behind me. Okay? So that you're not running and busting your head in front of me. So that's just who I am. But I've never been put in a scenario in which I wasn't with someone I've been put in situations where people have freaked out. And it's like, I got to get out. I'm like, okay, breathe, breathe, breathe. I'll take you out. Let's go. But I've been in situations where I've heard banging and knocking, and the person with me was like, oh, that's cool. You hear that? Yeah, because it was like, I just heard that. I hear that. Oh, bang, bang, did you hear that? Yep. You hear that? And so more than anything else, it's like, let's just listen. Once you stay there and listen and you pay attention to what that sound is, your mind is registering what that sound is and any association that you're familiar with. And there's your comfort level. As opposed to, it's a ghost, it's a poltergeist, it's this. My mind doesn't go there. It's like, what is this sound? It's a knocking or a banging. All right. Are you familiar with knocking and banging? Yes. And as opposed to, yeah, but it's not human. I don't go there. I go, okay, listen to that sound. Let me register what that sound is. Okay, it sounds like a knock or a bang. Is it happening again? And sometimes I'll go, can you knock again? And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. Yeah. It's not until I'm walking out that I'll hear it. I'll go like, okay, cool. But I'm out anyway. See ya.
Yeah. What's your opinion of what that stuff is? Do you think it's actual like some spirits of people that like didn't cross over appropriately or too painful, or it's just energy floating around making,
there's a number of scientific ways to debunk things. And there's a number of ways to go, I don't know what that is. Because I think for any of us to really say, it would be, I don't think anyone is an expert. You practice in this, you do this thing on a regular basis, and then you take your theories and put them all together because of things that happen over and over and over again. Like, for example, going into a creaky house, people like, you hear it creaking? Right. That's because wood contracts and expands depending upon the temperature. So you have to look at all the variables around you. You have to look at all the variables around you, and metal can do the same thing. Now, if you'll notice, if someone goes, can you repeat that? And it gets repeated, most likely it's an intelligent haunting, because I've had that happen at the Museum of Texas. And I had a 45-minute disembodied conversation. And I asked for certain things, and immediately those things happened. No explanation. Yeah. Except for, I believe, theoretically, that it was a paranormal experience. with an energy that had passed on. And then I got confirmation from a paranormal psychic medium, who's not only a psychic medium, but he is clairvoyant and clairaudient, which means that he can see and hear, to connect with them.
Yeah.
And he's spoken with many people who've passed over. And he's done a ton of television shows as well. His name is Chip Coffey.
Oh, yes. Chip Coffey is the man.
Yeah. And so Chip Coffey was like, this energy, this energy right here, this gentleman, this man that I'm talking to, he only wants to speak to you, Debra. So it was a group of people because it was an investigation. And he was like, everyone, let's back away because he only wants to speak to Debra. And I sat with him on his front porch because they had taken his sharecropper home and put it in the museum. And I had a 45-minute conversation with him while people walked around. Other people would come by and take pictures, and other people, because at one point he started sitting in the rocking chair next to me and rocking, and, you know, and I had a mag light, which was kind of half off and half on, so that if, you know, and asking him to turn it on or turn it off or dim it. So yes would go on, no would go off. But if it was a resounding yes, I would ask him to dim it down, and he did. And I used what Brad and Barry Kling call era cues. And that's to do something or sing something or speak from that particular era. So I used a Southern accent that a sharecropper would be aware of. I sang Negro spirituals to him. And then I began to tell him about John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, water fountains, end of slavery, Barack Obama. Yeah, before I left. It was a pretty powerful experience.
At the end
and
of it,
fun.
Of course, fun. At the end of something like that, I've never experienced anything. Is there like a gratefulness that they share, or a feeling that you get, you know, sharing your time with them type deal? Or
Chip Coffey was the interpreter because I couldn't.
Okay.
I couldn't feel anything.
Okay.
Chip Coffey said he has a message for you. And it was a pretty powerful message because it was an intelligent haunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff. It's interesting. It's funny when people naysay, and it's like, it's only because they never had the experience. You know, once you have the experience, it's like, all right, what's going on here? There's something.
Most of my experiences were with family members who passed on, as opposed to paranormal investigations.
Yeah.
Most of my experiences have been with family, particularly my mom, and once my grandfather when I was younger.
Yeah. And they come forth to pass messages.
No, it was more than anything else, just to let me know that she was here. That she was here. And she hasn't contacted me since because she knows I'm okay.
Yeah.
But she let me know she was here because I was talking to her one day. I brought her up and I was like, Mommy, I'm blah, 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 you know, and she was, then she came through, and I didn't expect it.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
I didn't expect it. Yeah. A very beautiful thing. Very beautiful thing.
My nan who passed away a couple months back, I was very close with her. And I remember the first day I went back to work, the first night back at work, I was listening to like Spotify, and I was listening to this Czarface, this group called Czarface. It's like an underground hip hop group. And then in the middle of the night, they played the Pretenders' "I'll Stand By You," I believe was the jam. And then it went right back to all the underground hip hop, that one artist. And I think that was kind of like her saying, you know, "I'll stand by you" type deal. You know what I mean? So I think,
wow.
I think messages, yeah, definitely get out there. It's all energy. So like the best way would be like to work through like something like that, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is all energy. It is all energy. That's what we are. We're all energy. Absolutely. I believe that.
Yeah. Alex, what do you believe over there?
Well, I mean, as I said before on many of our different podcasts, I have not experienced anything supernatural, but I've always have an open mind. I believe that there's many things out there that we have not experienced. It doesn't mean that they're not there. I have a lot of friends, Matt included, that have told me, even my mother has told me she's experienced some things of the supernatural. I myself haven't. Um, I like the way I see it is I probably subconsciously try to keep those kind of things out. I find reality enough stressful as it is that I try to just limit my view on just what's going on here and now than the possibility of the supernatural. But I believe that when you die, there is something that sometimes is left over, and different people, I believe, are born with the gift, or can be taught the gift, where they can still interact and pass messages and have a stronger connection with those who have passed on.
Yeah, for sure.
Right on.
You know,
Plus, also, I'd probably run screaming if I did meet a ghost.
you would,
Just
you would
I like to be able to, in my own way, boil things down to the simplest scientific forms, so I can know how to deal with it. When I can't do that, that is a little bit too much for my little feeble mind to handle.
Okay.
don't be too hard on yourself, buddy.
Hey, it's just, I like I said, I know it's out there, but I'm perfectly fine not going into those reaches. Definitely not at this point in my life.
I get it. I
Someday.
understand. I respect that.
Well, like Alex said, we're indie filmmakers, you know what I mean? And you know, of course, Mad TV and all the voiceover stuff is great. But I was curious, you know, you got to work with the great Robert Townsend. You know what I mean? How'd that go?
Oh man, he's not the only one. That was
Well,
fun. And
yeah.
Halle Berry was in it. Natalie Desselle was in it. Got to
Yeah.
work with them. I got to work with Halle Berry on Mad TV and in Baps.
Yeah.
But I've also got a chance to work with Robert Patrick. I've
Yeah.
also got a
Spike.
chance to work with oh my God, Elliot
Spike Lee.
Gould and Patrick Stewart. I mean, I've been very blessed and fortunate to work with some pretty amazing people, let alone actors. They're just great people on so many indie films. I just got finished doing another indie film with Mina Suvari and Brandon Routh,
Oh, yeah.
who was Superman on the CW and is now in the animated series Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Yes, which is one of my favorite films. And yeah. So Brandon Routh, the whole cast came back for the animated series.
Oh, very cool.
So I'm really, so I've worked with a number of people that I've been like, wow, and let alone Joan Rivers,
Hell yeah.
one-on-one. So, and certain directors that I've worked one-on-one with. I worked with on a voiceover project with it's going to drive me crazy. He directed a number of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Gore Verbinski?
Gore Verbinski.
Oh yeah.
And I worked one-on-one with him for almost a year on a project, one-on-one. And it was mind-blowing because when I heard that Gore Verbinski wanted to speak to me, I'm like, how the fuck does he know who I am? And my agency set that up, and he's like, he wants to have a Zoom meeting with you. And then he comes on Zoom like, hey, Debra, listen, I'm thinking about this. Here's what I want to blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, I'm going like, fucking Gore Verbinski. How the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Fuck, 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 what the fuck? It was mind-blowing that he just started the conversation like, hey, Deb, okay, listen, hey, Debra, blah, 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 nice to meet you. And then it's like, my mind the entire time was going, Gore Verbinski Zoomed me. I'm home and I'm talking to Gore Verbinski on Zoom. So, I mean, I get starstruck by a lot of people. And then I find out how grounded they are. Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, I've worked with her on a number of things. And just, it's from between Mad TV and an independent film. And then I played Oprah on one of their comic reliefs that they shot that was live in Las Vegas. So, I mean, I've been very blessed and I'm very humbled and very grateful to have these opportunities, you know, with people in film and indie film and television and radio and voiceover. I mean, I've worked with some icons in the voiceover. Well, D. Bradley Baker, who's a mind blowing, and I'm a huge fan. And to meet him, and the first thing we start doing is getting silly with each other. You know, very grounded people. So I've had the opportunity. Patrick Stewart, you know, you talking about Jean-Luc Picard, one of the most grounded dudes, lovable. I mean, I had a friend who was a huge fan, and while we were shooting the film, he was like, "Well, how do we surprise your friend?" As opposed to, "Oh, that's great. You have a friend that's a fan. Well, I'm flattered." No, that wasn't it with Patrick Stewart. He goes, "How do we surprise your friend?" Yeah. I know. Bring him on the set and let me meet him.
Wow.
That's Patrick Stewart.
I thought you were going to say a phone call. That's way better.
No, he was like, "Bring him. Tell him to come. And then I'll meet him. We'll just pictures with him, sign and stuff." I mean, Patrick Stewart was just, like I said, a divinely sweet, wonderful, giving, grounded actor, friendly. Just, I did an interview with Ben Kingsley, and instead of pulling things out, you know, because you figure people like Sir Ben Kingsley have been doing interviews throughout their entire career, that they would be like, "Oh, here's another one. So yeah, so you answer a question. It's going to be, yes, you're going to answer a question." He was so lovely. When I just introduced myself, I said, "Sir Ben Kingsley, it is lovely to meet you." Before I even get anything else, he goes, "Well, thank you very much. And how are you?" And I said, "I am so grateful in this process. I'm feeling great. And I am so grateful in this opportunity just to speak with you about this film." And he goes, "Oh, blah, blah, this film is blah, blah, oh, blah, blah." I didn't even have to go into questions because it was like a private and personal conversation of someone he met on the street. That's how gracious he was. Yeah. So I didn't have to pull information from him. He was proud of this film. And it was, at the time, it was The House of Sand and Fog, or Light and Fog, or I think The House of Sand and Fog. And he was just lovely. Lovely, 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 lovely. So I've had all these wonderful and amazing opportunities in film, indie and otherwise, to work with some beautiful people, some amazing people.
Yeah. It's always great when you're working with people, especially people that you are fans of or you appreciate, and they are, great giving people. I mean, you got both ends of the spectrum, people that end up not being how you envision.
And I've met some of them too, and worked with them later on, and they didn't remember.
See, that's always interesting. I always think that they do remember, but they try to forget. So if they did do something that they
no, she didn't remember me. This person who's very well known in television, she didn't remember, because it was that flippant of a moment.
Oh,
it was that, for her, it was so flippant of a moment. And then I found out from another actress that's very, very well known from television. She was like, "Oh, she's like that with me." And I was like, "You're well known. Are you kidding me? You're an icon. I've watched you on She was like that with you?" Yeah. Two women that were very, very well-known sitcom stars. And I was like, she was like that with you. And the woman that I'm talking about, who's really kind and sweet, was like, amazing. I worked with Joyce DeWitt on a pilot.
Oh yeah.
Who was Janet from Three's Company.
Yeah.
She was amazing. She was so lovely. And we shot this at CBS Studios in New York. And she was like, "Well, I'm going back tomorrow, but come back to my hotel room." And we started talking. She was like, "Come on, walk, come on. Oh my God, I love dolphins. You love dolphins too? Oh my God." It was my crystal energy, about talking about healing energy and crystal energy and stuff. And she lived in Arizona at the time. Oh my God. Or either Arizona or New Mexico. And we just talked before we got to the after party. She was like, "Okay, I'm going to take a shower." We're talking to me through the shower. Oh my God. She was lovely and divine. Just absolutely amazing. So, I mean, I've been honored and privileged. And for the ones that were like, "Oh," I'm like, I get it. There's something in your life that has nothing to do with me. And it took me time to get to that space with anybody. There's something in your life that has nothing to do with me. I get you. My name is Bennett and I ain't in it. I get you. It ain't got nothing to do with me, because we always are a mirror reflection of each other. But sometimes an energy that someone is reflecting off of you is they don't feel great about themselves. They don't feel great about a situation. You caught them on a day where they went through something with someone and they can't get it out of their system. They can't drop it, or they refuse to drop it. And so they take it out on you in order to release it. I'm like, I get it. I get it. I get it. It has nothing to do with me. And as long as you recognize that it has nothing to do with you, nothing to do with you, then you go, I get it. I was just their sounding board. Okay. Better me than someone who's about to bust you in the fucking head.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, it's about 5 minutes before 11, and I am going to pick up my large enclosure because I have so many critters, and I'm going to pick up a large enclosure, 6-foot enclosure for a Colombian gold tegu. So I rented a van to go pick it up because I'm an independent woman, and so I have an appointment to go pick up my U-Haul to get my enclosure. It was a custom made enclosure with a custom made interior.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this before I go.
Yeah.
If you ever want to talk about critters and stuff going on like that, if you ever want to get into video game stuff and stuff like that, and the stuff that I've done like that, and if you ever want to tell me what's going on in your world where you live, let's do this again, I say. And then we'll make it a party. What do you say?
Hey, totally down for it. Love it.
I love it.
Come on, man. Come on, Alex. Yeah.
Well, Debra,
It was great talking to you. We got to do this soon. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll make it happen in the new year. Yeah.
Love that.
Heck
yes,
yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And again, before we go, let me hear. Woo, woo, woo. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Take care.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the great Debra Wilson. That was a fantastic voyage. I love sitting down with people that I love, and I love the Alexander Hawk and Debra. Fantastic. Huge, Mad TV, which I gotta say, is I kind of a staple. I love the video. Whenever I hear her voice pop up in the video games, but she's in every video game that's been hot in the last 20 years. She's on. You know what I mean? Killing it. But Mad TV, I was always a huge fan of sketch comedy. In Living Color, Saturday Night Live, and Mad TV was right on time. I loved it. Always got into it. It was like, I gotta credit it for, like some of the dark comedy that my mind will usher out into the world. I gotta credit Mad TV for that, because it was very, the 90s was a great time for comedy. Just pushing the envelope and just being, it wasn't safe. It was just kind of, which I always think unsafe comedy is the best comedy. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, this was a great interview. This reminds me a lot of the Larry Hankin interview, you know what I mean? Which you really get to get in and know the person and catch the vibe. And yeah, we might not have talked about Mad TV to its extent. All right, out there, if you're listening and you were hoping to catch some Mad TV, you got yourself some Mad TV. All right. But you got Mad TV. So you got the BoomBastiCAST. You know what I mean? We got a great episode with Debra. It was fantastic. I mean, she's a sweetheart of a person. I love her positivity. Whenever there's anybody out there floating in the world that we get to talk to, and they got the positive vibes, they're floating off those positive vibes, it's definitely a kudos deal. Big kudos, big love. You know what I mean? What do you think, Alex?
Hey, I gotta say, had a lot of fun. I mean, I was able to contact Debra, and she was totally interested in being on the show. And one of the things she said that she wanted to, give us something that we're not going to get on another podcast, which is what we're all about. We love going down these rabbit holes, talking about spirituality, talking about the paranormal. I mean, we talked about some of her works. You got to work with some great people throughout the years. I mean, you sit down, you look at her IMDb, and it's a lot of great stuff. I mean, Mad TV is a big part, but it's only a little part in the scheme of things. And she's very talented. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't play a video game, you can't watch like a TV series that's animated that you don't hear her voice in there. And uh, I mean, heck, I remember watching Mad TV, and honestly, her characters were the most fun. I loved her on Mad TV, and I think she definitely was one of the best parts of it. And that's why I reached out to her, and I'm so glad we got her on the show. I mean, it was great talking about all these different things, and she gave us things to think about that I have to admit I haven't thought about ever, and
Ever.
that's what we love is you know going in and talking about things, one-on-one conversations. I mean, like she was saying that talking with Patrick Stewart and Ben Kingsley, the one-on-one conversation. It's not question answer, question answer. We want to have conversations with these people that we appreciate and that we love to talk about.
I feel uplifted after talking to her. Truly
Yeah,
an inspirational person for sure. Um, and she's got her heart and her mind are in the right place. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I like she called me out a few times when I made some ideas that weren't quite reasonable ideas, which it was good. I love it when people call the bluff, you know what I mean? Not the bluff, but just like go deeper into that. Explain to me what you mean by that. It's a good deal. I dig that. I mean, lets me know that they're in tune, but doesn't getting down. But
yeah. He doesn't get enough of me calling him out on this
I don't
bullshit.
get enough Alex not calling me out, so I needed it. And I
Hey,
had
that's about 90% of my job, dude, is calling you out. But hey, we
I
still
didn't
love
know
you.
you did anything, so I'm glad that that's 95% of your job. Arroo! Arroo! Arr, 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 arr.
Yeah.
Well, this was an absolute pleasure. A beautiful kickoff to season 6 of the BoomBastiCAST. We got a great year ahead of y'all coming, and dip into the old episodes too. Why not? They're there. They could use your likes and comments just like the new ones could. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, Debra Wilson, this was a pleasure. As soon as I knew that we got her, when Hawkman said he got her, I was like, yes, because I remember, I hate to go back to Mad TV because she's done so much stuff, but I can't, I probably can't even express how influential Mad TV was to a early teenage Matt Fisher, even a little before early teenage. And every Saturday night we got down with that, you know what I mean? That was where it was at. And beautiful, very good times, you know what I mean? So with that being said, I think it's time to bounce out of this episode and give the people plenty of time to go watch more episodes of the BoomBasticCast. And check out the Patreon at BoomBastic Streaming, where if you were streaming BoomBastic style, you'd be watching this before it hit the public airwaves. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. But again, man, thanks to Debra Wilson and having her on the show. Always a beautiful thing. Looking forward to having her back on. That was fantastic. Uh, new friend of the show, new friend of the show. And with that being said, we hope everybody had a great New Year's and a great holiday season. We're glad to see you back because we are looking through your computer screen right now, and that little camera above the computer screen on your phone and computers, and we are watching you. We got behind me is the setup of everybody's TV and everybody's computer, and I'm watching them to make sure that they're doing the right thing, which is watching the BoomBasticCast, so they're doing the right thing. So on behalf of Alexander, myself, and Debra, we hope everybody over there has a great night and maybe even a great day, depending where you is. And we'll catch y'all on the next episode of the BoomBasticCast.